over and over and over and over again, and that was the only thing that you saw. Well, that was something tiny. That wasn't big. They're going to need something much, much larger than that to make sure that people are continually distracted. But it's not going to work. Why? Because the Patriots, they know the playbook. They know once that red line is crossed, countermeasures are in place to take care of it. The deep state, the corrupt politicians, they're panicking like we've never seen before. This is why they're going after Georgia and the voting laws in Georgia. They tried in Arizona. They tried to stop the forensic audit there. It completely failed. They know they have to go after Georgia. That's a key area. They need to stop it. But while they're doing this, think about all the other news that has been coming out lately about how Trump supporters or Q followers, they're all of a sudden... Well, I don't think this was an accident. I think they're prepping for something much, much larger. Think about all the outages across the world that have to do with science. I even see a combination of all of this. We'll be talking about this a little bit later in this report. But first, let's talk about Kamala Harris. Now, think about this. Trump, he was out there saying, listen, I'm going to be going down to the border on June 30th. And Kamala Harris and Biden, they did not go to the border. Then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris came out and said, listen, all right, I'm going to go to the border. But she went to El Paso, 1,000 miles away from where the problem really is. And yes, she arrived. And guess what? There were Trump supporters out there greeting her. And she finally made it to the border. And she said, I'm glad to be here. It was always the plan to come here. Then she kept them in cages. Trump made the problem. But no one believes her. Actually, no one even knows who she really is. Think about during the presidential race in the Democratic Party, she just got a small little percentage. Nobody even cares about her. She doesn't have people lining the streets welcoming her. Thousands upon thousands of people. Remember, she's the first black woman vice president. Wouldn't you think people would be all over the streets congratulating her? We don't see any of that. But Jason Miller, he came out with this tweet. The only reason the Biden DOJ is announcing this Georgia action today is to distract from Kamala Harris' border visit. Absolutely. Everything the deep state players do, they do it specifically on certain days to distract. They knew Kamala Harris going to the border. They didn't really want people to see this. They wanted the news out there that they're going to sue Georgia. Remember, they love distractions. Why? Because Kamala Harris, it was a nothing burger. She wasn't really visiting the border. Yeah, she was on the border, but not where the crisis was. She wasn't visiting the mayhem that was going on down there. This is why they didn't want to go down there in the first place. Now, what's very interesting is that Biden came out, and he's an incredible gun salesman. He came out and he said, listen, think about what he just said there. Well, actually, take a listen to what he said.
Never been, if you want it, is that there's always been the ability to limit ration.
Now, everything that the deep state, the corrupt politicians are trying to do with weapons just completely fell apart. President has ever made? Yes, it is. Actually, he's explaining what governments can do to you. Think about the British government. They were the most powerful army on this planet. And what did the citizens here in this country, the colonists, I should really say, what did they have? Were they the most powerful army? Did they have the same equipment? They wanted freedom. They wanted their freedom. That's what they're afraid of. And he just explained why you need a weapon against a tyrannical government. And no, the colonists, they didn't rush up and attack the British. The British attacked the colonists first. They tried to take one thing here. What are they trying to do? They're trying to take, months ago, Biden was pushing the red flag laws where they were trying to get passed. It didn't work, but that's what they were trying to do. And their plan is failing. Now, what's very interesting with all these Democratic cities and states, as time goes on, we're going to see these city and states break down. We're already seeing it. Look, They tried to defund the police in all different areas. Crime shot up. People noticed it. People saw with their own eyes. They walked around. They can see what was happening in the cities, in their towns, in their states, and they realized, bad call. Now these same people are trying to refund the police, but it's too late. As time goes on, and these individuals keep implementing their agendas, these cities, these states, they're going to fall apart. And as they fall apart, we're going to see the residents of these areas say, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. We're already seeing it across this country. We're seeing it now in Atlanta, Georgia. It seems that Buckhead, they're looking to break free from the rest of the city. Why? Because the rest of the city is declining rapidly. And they're saying, we don't want to be a part of this. We're going to see this more and more throughout this country. And we're seeing a lot of these individuals in these certain areas, like up in Portland, saying, you know something, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. We want to break apart. And this is just the beginning. Now, what's very interesting, like we mentioned in the beginning, the deep state, they're panicking over this election fraud. And the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, he went ahead and he said, you know what, we're going to sue Georgia over the new election laws that require photo ID. Now, think about this for a second. States, they make the laws in their state for elections. States set their own voting laws, not the federal government. But why are they doing this? Because they're trying to stop it. Did they try to sue Arizona with the forensic election audit? Yes, they did. Did it fail? Yes. So now the U.S. Justice Department announced that they were suing the state of Georgia over the voting law passed in March. They said, our complaint alleges that recent changes to Georgia's election laws were enacted with the purpose of denying or abridging the right of the black Georgians to vote on account of their race or color in violation of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, are they using racism, discrimination? Starting to seem that way. But actually, 69% of black voters support voter ID. That's 2 out of 3 black voters. So is this going to work? No, because how are they going to push this? Because voter ID is required throughout the world, first of all. And voter ID, well, what else do you need that for? Oh, a driver's license, welfare, food stamps, to get a hotel, to buy a car, anything else. So why isn't it racist there? Does that make any sense? No. So why are they making the move now? Well, we'll talk about that in just a sec. But Trump put out this statement, and this is what he says. Biden's Department of Justice just announced that they're suing the great state of Georgia over its Election Integrity Act. Actually, it should be the other way around. The people of Georgia should sue the state and their elected officials for running a corrupt and rigged 2020 presidential election and for trying to suppress the vote of the American people in Georgia. If we don't address these issues from 2020 election head on, and we allow the radical left Democrats to continue to politicize the DOJ and law enforcement, we will lose our country. Save America. He's right. The people should say, no, we want a forensic audit. We want to see if this is done completely fair and that our voices were heard. Yes, absolutely. And then we have Christina Bobb. She tweeted this out, that judge rules in favor of Georgia voters again. Here's the statement. And it says, court rules for petitioners again in Fulton ballot inspection case. We are pleased that the court has ruled in our favor again for the 5th time. The ruling substitutes defendants by replacing currently named government organizations with individual board members we named originally in our lawsuit. It also moots Don Samuel's attempt to dismiss our case. This continues the string of victories we have, including how we obtained the original protective order, conditional approval to inspect ballots, access to ballot images, and the order to unseal the ballots. Yes. Now, what's very interesting is with this lawsuit, I do believe that this is going to lead into certain other things, and there's a reason I do believe they're going after Georgia. But I just want to mention to all those people who might have lost someone in that crash of that building in Miami, my prayers go out to all the families there. And with this, I find the timing of all this, not saying that it was a false flag or set up, but I think they're going to use it for something. Because whenever they see something happen, I'm talking about the deep state players, they like to use these type of events for something else. So Biden, he's issued a state of emergency following this building collapse in Miami, near Miami. And right now, he's having Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and other federal agencies to provide assistance to state and local authorities currently sifting through the rubble. Now, we're going to have FEMA, Homeland Security, and other federal agencies in Florida. Now, think about that. I see other things out there saying that they're going to be looking at the building and why it collapsed, and they might have to look at the building code. Now, are they going to try to push the building code for their new climate agenda? Maybe. Is Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and other federal agencies there for another reason? Well, go back to 9/11. They were doing some type of drill, and they had all the agencies there in New York right before 9/11.